Hi everyone, welcome to our final K-6/P-6 if you're in Victoria uh, user group for the year for 2020. It's been a pretty hectic year for very obvious reasons for everyone, but glad we're able to be at this end of the year, I guess. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited for next year to come along. Uh, but yeah, if we just go to the next slide, we've got a little bit of an agenda for today. Maybe I should share it.
Yeah. Is mine being delayed?
Yep,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Okay. I'll stop sharing.
I'll share my screen. All right, so today's user group is pretty straightforward, really. It's going to be pretty free-flowing, just for anyone to jump in and share some of the stuff that they're doing in Canvas. It doesn't have to be cool or exciting or anything like that. In fact, some of the stuff that people think is boring or mundane is actually really interesting to a lot of other people, because you might be doing things a little bit differently to what other schools are doing, which is why that's actually the main reason why we have these user groups. It's not necessarily about the latest and greatest exciting thing. It's seeing what other people are doing, and that's why it's a user group and not an instructor group, so to speak. Although we're happy to share stuff as well, but we're actually not the ones that are in the system every day teaching out of Canvas, and you are. So that's where the value of these user groups really comes to the fore. So we'd love to just get everyone to jump in and share some of the things that they're doing, and just you might be doing a couple of different things depending on the year group. So K-3, you might be doing things a little bit differently to 4-6, for example, or different stages through primary school or junior school. So we'll after we've done that, and any other sharing that people want to do, and Q&A, that'll just happen naturally, I think, as a matter of course, as we just chat about things. We'll just be asking each other questions. And that's everyone. If you've been to these before, you know that Rio and I and our team ask people questions as well, because we're really keen to learn from you at the same time. And then we really want to discuss what we want to chat about in our next user group. Now, it's good for us to have another one similar to this, where we're just sharing things, but sometimes there's a really hot topic that everyone wants to chat about and discuss the different strategies that everyone's taking to be able to do those things. So it's really, really helpful to jump in and share with those sorts of things as well. So before we dive into that, how is everyone going? I know it's the end of the year, but yeah, how's everyone traveling? Considering I think everyone on the call is based in Australia at the moment. We've had some restrictions eased in Victoria. We've got interstate travel coming up in a couple of weeks, where people will be able to cross borders and things like that. How's everyone doing?
I might jump in. So I'm Russell, by the way, for those who I haven't met. Look, a lot better this term since the kids have been back at school. It's been fantastic. Makes things that used to take half an hour take 5 minutes. So good. However, I'm not going to lie, counting down the days till the end of term 4, to be honest. So we're going good, and being from Victoria, it's nice to know we've got a bit more movement going on at the moment. So yeah, hanging out for the end, fair to say.
Yeah.
Quick question, Russell. What were the things that were taking 30 minutes that are now taking 5 minutes?
Oh, just overall, like even a normal class lesson, to see what a kid knows, maybe not 30 minutes, but to see what a kid knows, you can stand over their shoulder and say, hey, no, fix that. There's no go to this app, communicate this way, wait for them to respond. It's just immediate feedback. So things like that, or if a kid has a question, they just ask you, rather than having to go through all those other communication channels. So having that face-to-face is just, it was missed.
Yeah, we'll definitely never take it for granted anymore.
Never.
It's good.
Yeah. Definitely notice that as well. I used to teach, and it's always great being able to see students face to face. Am I breaking up a little bit?
Yeah, you are.
What's going on? I think my laptop's getting a bit hot or something like that.
That's right.
I might just get you to take over for a minute.
Yeah, sure. So how are you going, David? Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just unmute myself. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not really like Russell. Being in New South Wales, everything's been semi-okay. And yeah, I think there's been a nice blend of face-to-face teaching and working online like we were doing, I guess, last year. I think for us, it's still continuing with the Canvas journey at our school and trying to get those ideas from other educators through these user groups to reignite, I guess, a few things at the place I'm at. Sarah, who's online too, she's here today as well. She's one of my colleagues down in the infants area.
Yeah.
But yeah, keen to still try and just calibrate some ways to develop Canvas in those really younger years. I think it's always really testing. Although just meeting with the ICT integrator today and looking through the stuff that's really coming out on Commons now and some of the other ideas there, it's terrific to see some of those resources that you can use and upload. But I've just been talking about some different ideas for the beginning of next year, and then how to sort of reignite the passion, if you will, for Canvas with all the teachers for next year.
Yeah, cool. Well, we might get you to share some of those things, David, with us a little bit later, but we might just check in with Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hi there, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good, thanks.
It's good.
How are things over there?
Slowly becoming back to normal, I'd like to say, although what is normal these days is questionable.
Yeah.
But we've finally had all our kids back on site, so that's been pretty exciting for us.
That's good. Good to hear.
Yeah. And our Canvas journey continues with wrapping up the year and concluding our courses and reassigning them to different blueprints. So yeah, we're well in the swing of preparing for 2021, which is exciting.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Kylie. And last of all, Sam, how are you there?
So I'm from Pius in Chatswood in New South Wales.
Yep.
We haven't really used Canvas yet. We've been told we have to introduce it next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought this group would be a good chance. I joined I joined another one of these conversations a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was quite interesting just hearing what other people are doing, because I'm still not sure what the best way to introduce it is. I'm at a 5 to 12 school.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the way that the senior school is using it, it's not going, I don't think it'll work so well for us. So I'm interested to see how other people in primary are using it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we get started into sharing some of those things, and hopefully can help you out, Sam, and obviously help us all out as well. Did you want to jump to the next slide, Paul? You still there? Yeah.
Sorry, my computer's kind of freaking out at the moment.
Okay. I might just
next slide, and then I might get you to share again.
Yeah, hang on. Let me try and share. Give me 1 second. Yeah, you're inaudible, so can't even make out what you're saying. Can everyone see that? Yep, cool. So who would like to share first? I know, Kyla, you put your hand up to kind of share what you were doing. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, for sure. Am I able to share my screen? That might be
Yeah.
easier.
I'll stop share.
Does that look good to you? Can you see my ELC page? So I thought I'd start at the very end. And Sam, this will probably be good for you because my school is from 6 months old to 18-year-olds. So we use Canvas right down from our staff childcare right up to our Year 12 students. So obviously COVID has prevented it or gave us a really good opportunity to put this into our hands of our very, very young students, and more so, I guess, in relation to the parents. So we started with some early learning centre pages that was a way for the staff to be able to communicate with the kids and provide for them, they made their own videos of things that they were doing in their home. And then our little kids, to which I have a 2.5-year-old, so she was a guinea pig in this experiment, would get online and watch and see their teachers. And I guess what it's really grown into, as you can see from my page here, is that our groups are now really harnessing the ability for parents, as my page slowly loads, to reflect and be able to have a really quick, easy, on the parents' phones, the ability for our parents to be able to see what the kids are doing inside the classroom. So just, that they're uploading each week these beautiful documents which have pictures of their kids. We're able to quickly get announcements out to these parents, and the teachers are, giving a sort of a snapshot of what's happening within the classroom now that they're back on site. And this has provided us with a great way for parents to, through discussion boards, when we were not on site, communicate with each other in a relatively, I say, safe environment that the school doesn't necessarily need to manage. We can see what's going on, but we don't have to always be involved in those conversations between the parents. They can ask questions of each other, and during that COVID time, because of course we were away for most of term 2 and all of term 3, the parents could post pictures of little kids, doing what it is that they were doing in their homes, etc., and give each other ideas. So, I often think, Canvas, we talk about the higher levels and then even university, but we're really using it across the board with all of our kids. And I wrote some notes before because I thought, what I really have found the most benefit for Canvas is we all know it can be used in the classroom to deliver our lessons, and that's what it's there for. But what were some of the other, I guess, out of the box things that we were using Canvas for? And one of the things that we did really early on was enroll all of our junior school students, so prep to Year 6, into the one course. And we have 2 junior schools, so we had a Q course and a Donval course, and that meant again that we could deliver things as we needed, and we didn't have to worry about enrollments, making sure that people were able to access the things that we were trying to get to the kids. And as a consequence, we ran a number of what we called sort of festival days or connected learning days throughout our entire school. But it meant that the kids were already there, and we just needed to adapt the front page of those courses each time. So I just thought I'd briefly show you through these. You can again see now that I've flipped over to a new tab, the wellbeing page. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Yep. So again, prep to 6 participated in a wellbeing day. We presented this all through Canvas. Each time across the entire school, we had the events take place on the front page, which we changed periodically, even in our upper schools. We could, from here, invite kids into conferences. We could do cross-age challenges. But these sites here, again, were the places that the kids knew if they had a special event or a special day, they could come to these pages. We used a lot of Padlet integrated with Canvas into this, and I'll show you some of those in a moment. But basically, again, we used the same sort of method for each day so that the kids weren't learning anything new, particularly our youngest kids just knew that they had to come to this location. So we did a wellbeing day, a wonderful STEM day with, again, that timeline of events stuck into Canvas there. And we also delivered our literature festival, which, again, we could get our authors to come in and be a part of those days so that the kids didn't miss out on those fun experiences. I think the really thing that worked well with that, I didn't have to worry about contacting our ICT department to manage the enrollments. Our kids were there. We could run how we wanted. B, the kids knew exactly where they needed to go for those fun activities. And C, also the fact that we kept the format the same. So every time there was one of those awesome opportunities for the kids, they knew they had to go to the front page. They knew that the outline of events would be there. And they could even see, their year 7 and 8 brothers and sisters were doing similar things. And it was the same, again, for our parents to learn a new system as well. I probably should have said at the start that when we went into lockdown, we had been using Canvas for 6 weeks. So all of our teachers had to learn on the fly how to use a new learning management system. Obviously, we had to teach them online how to use the online learning management system. So all of this stuff, doesn't take years to learn. It just takes a pandemic to be able to learn. I'll keep moving and then I'll see if there's anyone who wants to ask any questions. Oh, hang on, I've just moved the toolbar in the way there. The other thing that I wanted to show, again, keeping away from our normal classroom situations, was that we started a Kerry Connect course mainly for our outdoor ed department, because obviously when you're in lockdown you can't take kids on beautiful camping experiences, and they had a lot to share in this space. And so we again invited all of our community to be a part of the one page, which we then segregated up into the different year levels. And the kids now know, again, now that they're back on site and some of these activities are able to take place, that they are again going to these courses on their dashboard to find their information. So just to step you through one of these, if we go into the year 5, we've got information from parents, but also some challenges that the kids might have done at home, and connections to Padlet boards here. Some of these haven't taken place, so when I click on them, the year 5s are yet to have the experience. Oh no, they have. There it is. It's loaded. The kids could come in here and add their photos nice and easily to the Padlet boards. And the other neat thing about this Outdoor Ed page, or Kerry Connect page, was that we really started to explore the use of badges. And so we've got the kids assigned, I think it's a little like Hey Dougie, but you get a camping challenge badge, or a cooking badge, or a sleep out badge. And believe it or not, our year 10 students were the ones that were most excited to get the badges to display. And so again, through this, we had the kids sometimes do the experiences on site, like you can see here. But for some of the older kids, we actually had to bring them into virtual sessions, and they camped out in their backyards and took photos, etc., which was a pretty, again, unique experience. The other thing which I would say that I think we couldn't have lived without during this pandemic are these global announcements. So our principal sent a message probably on average once a week, and you'll be able to see him down here. But he actually talks, so he sends the video to the staff or the parents or the students basically telling us to hang in there. But that's really continued, and the parents have really appreciated being able to again click on the app on their phone and see the message from the principal, about what the future at that point is holding, and then of course our celebrations when we did get to come back to school, which was pretty exciting for us. I guess as a side note to that, when we set up Canvas, we had no real clues what our sub accounts would needed to be or should have been, and we took a bit of a stab in the dark. Thankfully, we did get it right, which did mean that we could send out some global announcements. We have, I guess, 2 sub schools within our junior school. So we've got our lower primary and our upper primary, and sometimes they have assembly together and sometimes they have assembly separately. And one of the good things of setting up those sub accounts was that we could distinguish between those and send those upper school, lower school assemblies out really easily for the parents and the students. Now that we're back on site, we still can't have assemblies. So we are still on the day that the assembly usually takes place, sending it out so that families and our students, of course, can participate in that activity. Parents love the fact that they can now be a part of an assembly, because before now, you might have had even 10 people, parents could come to an assembly. Now they can all watch it in their own time. The other just a few tabs that I did have open on is I'll skip the normal class page, but and this probably relates to our more upper primary, more into our middle school. But again, we had to do a big, I hate using the word pivot because it is overused, but a big pivot with our sports teams. And before, our lovely sports department would never have thought about using a learning management system to deliver their activities. But we did have to create pages for them, which would allow them to, again, communicate with kids that weren't online. And I think the success of these are that come 2021, our teams are asking for these pages because they were a great way to, again, communicate with a small cohort of kids and provide opportunities for them that, if you missed a training session, you could still be a part of the sessions that were taking place. So our kids really enjoyed having access to these videos, and some of the videos our teachers made or sports coaches made, others we have got from YouTube. So it's a bit of a mixture of all of those together. And I guess just 2 more things, and then I promise I won't talk anymore. But another, I guess, I cannot say how many times that the pandemic has done us wonders in the use of a learning management system. Our lovely music department, again, had to flip very quickly from delivering, face-to-face lessons to delivering online sessions. And one of our biggest successes there is we now have an auditions page, so we can keep track of kids every time they apply to be a part of one of our musicals or our bands, etc. And we have been able to share this page with people that are not part of the Kerry domain by making it the site public for certain sessions. And again, we have a record of these. So our kids from upper primary into our middle and senior schools do have the opportunity to be part of bands that they have to apply for. And we can see their journey along the way. The last thing that I will just say is that none of this could really be possible without some well-structured documentation. So if I now flick to our Year 4 page, which again, I'm sure everyone has standard class pages that they use. We have the same format for all of our junior school pages, and our middle and senior school are slightly different. But we don't change anything on these front pages. We want the students and the parents' experience to be the same. And we have a well-structured document that tells our teachers, what must be included in a blueprint versus what must be in a course page. And that needs some work moving again into 2021, because we did have to learn on the fly. I think there are a few things that we let go were sort of modules and using the to-do list and the calendar. So they're our focus for next year. But that document clearly outlines to staff, that when they need to put an announcement and how the announcement should be structured. So a parent who has 3 kids at the school knows that the announcement is for their year 3 student rather than their year 7 student. And so that document, I guess, has really helped us. We developed that before we even started using Canvas. But we've pushed that out to teachers. And as I say, it needs to be re-evaluated for the start of next year, but it does give teachers a clear indication of what their responsibilities are with regards to a blueprint versus what their responsibilities are for their own courses. And that is our 2020 journey with Canvas in a nutshell.
Thank you so much.
That-
That was great. That was great. I've learned a lot. Yeah, so many good things there. Does anyone have any questions?
I've got about 50 million, actually.
Yeah, I've got some too.
Yeah, I've got two.
You go first, Dave.
Kylie, I'm just in awe. I think you spoke at the other user group before, and I was pretty gobsmacked by that. So I'm even more gobsmacked by what you're able to present here, considering we've had Canvas a lot longer, and I'm in New South Wales, and I'm not in the severe lockdown that you guys have had to endure. But really, it's just amazing what you've been able to do and how you've been able to utilise a lot of the mechanisms that Canvas has. In saying that, there's a couple of things I just want to ask. With it, like how teachers, I know you didn't really have a lot of time, but how did you, and I'm coming from a junior schools perspective, obviously, I think that's what we are, K-6, so I keep thinking it's K-12, but my school is K-12, it's similar to yours. Mm-hmm. So how did you find those junior school teachers working together to put all this together to formulate what you've got? Did you find it? Yeah, I guess that's my first bit.
So I guess again the plan, the fact that our, if you look at a year 3 page, it's just replacing year 3 in each of those buttons. It looks identical. Yeah. And that was done for them. So we do have the blueprints. We use blueprints across our school to push out. We have 3 classes at Kew and 2 classes at Donvale, so for every year level. And I guess again that our teachers plan together, and I guess are forced to use this because of the common experience. We want a year 4 student to have the same experience regardless of who their teacher is. Having said that, we build in a lot of places for teachers to add their own flair to their class because we don't want to take away, people's, creativity. But I guess it's at the start, it's a fill in the blank. So it's here is your course and you will add your stuff here, done for them. And that does take, again, being new to Canvas, it took us thousands of hours to make, all of these buttons that sit on the front page. Yeah. But it's paid off because people are then happy to go in and add their stuff slowly, because they don't have to worry about the formatting or, it's there ready to go for them. And I guess our document that says, as we move up the school, it says when you're in a year 7 class or 7 to 12, your Canvas page must start with your learning intentions. So it's laid out for them according to our learning design guide. We want the students to have this sort of experience in a classroom. Therefore, in a learning management system, they need to be provided with this.
Yeah, okay. That seems incredibly structured. The other one I just want to ask is with pictures and photos or videos, do you have any privacy issues as far as people being able to download pictures of kids or, how you've got different families who may not, I know here we have a particular situation where that can be problematic, putting photos of kids onto Canvas and then having parents being able to have access to that.
So our parents do have to sign off at the start of each year on agreeing to have their kids' photos distributed on the learning management system. We probably have, I think it's only 10 kids across the school. I want to say we have famous kids, but they're usually the ones that don't don't have their photos, and the class teachers are well aware of who those students are, and we just have to manage that from a point of view.
Okay. Okay. Thanks so much for that. The other one I just wanted to ask was,
that is a good
with-
question though about parents. So all our parents have access to Canvas. We've again.
Yeah, that was my next question. So when
Yeah.
did you they've got their own login, obviously, where they can just go in and,
Yep.
and have a look.
Yep.
Okay, because there's something I think that's on the horizon that we really want to put into play for next year, is to have parents be able to come on board and really start to get a bit of a feel of what's happening within each class. But at the same time, just making sure those teachers, and that was my other question too, it's like I've got 50,000. Did you have, like, for year 4, is that just a common, no, that's for JS, is that right? So that's a
that
particular
says junior
class.
school. Yeah, no.
Oh,
So
junior
this
school.
is the blueprint. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just for year 4, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So you don't then divvy off into different classes from that?
Well, because we use the blueprint,
Yep.
it's all common, and then teachers add to their individual classes.
But they can have access to make their own individual content for their class.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you find that all the teachers are okay that way, or do you find one class has got all this stuff while one other class may not have so much, and then that's
Coming out of COVID, I would say that we're probably a little bit
Probably
more
not, no.
uniformed because
Yep.
teachers, have distributed that work.
Yeah.
As we move up the school, surprisingly, it probably gets worse as you head towards, our very senior classes, where you'd think again the curriculum is very structured, but teachers provide learning materials in different ways, whether it be a video or a PowerPoint or a Word document. We have had a learning management system for the past 13 years, so we just used a dodgy one. And so our parents have always been enrolled as observers, right from the beginning. So that's kind of a non-negotiable for our teachers.
Yeah. Okay.
You better take it in your thing.
Okay. Thanks for that. So,
Kylie, can I just ask,
Yeah.
do you have many issues with blueprinting?
As in?
Like things not syncing properly, and like if you had to restructure it again, would you stick with blueprinting courses?
Hell yes.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because quite often we're having issues where if we say create an assignment, blueprint it out, let's say a French master course, for instance, and there's 3 classes attached to that. Often we're having issues with assignments, not blueprinting and things. And so we're at the point at the moment where we're thinking about cross-listing courses, which is basically having all the kids in one course and no syncing, and then tagging those kids to, say, I don't know, 4A, 4B, 4C. And we've just had a few issues with blueprinting. So I just wanted to see if it was an us thing or if you've had any of that in the past.
So we, again, had to learn that very quickly because that was, of course, the most common thing that parents, students were calling the ICT service desk. I can't see such and such an image and it's not displaying, etc. I think there are a few tips. So everything that comes out of the blueprint is locked, bar one page, and I'll talk from a middle school perspective because it's a little bit easier. But we have an introduction page for each of our topics. So let's say it's Year 7, Introduction to the Science Lab. That first page is not locked, and that's where teachers will add in their own. So I guess it's the structure is that you can add in an index page, and you add in other things that you as the individual teacher are putting in there. So that page, while it's synced from originally, it will never properly sync because your individual teachers are touching it. Otherwise, everything that comes out of the blueprint, we find, as long as you are locked in the blueprint and you've done the sync and you lock it before those pesky little teachers can touch it, the sync is good.
Okay.
Otherwise, the other thing that I just do is if it's not syncing, don't spend time trying to get it to sync. Just duplicate the page, delete the other page, put it back in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, look, to be honest, we're pretty much going to avoid it next year. We're just cross-listing, and then there's you don't have any of that. But I mean, that
Yeah.
works for say 3 classes. If you've got over different campuses, maybe it's a different issue, you know. So
Yeah, well, in our middle school, we have 11 year 7 classes
yeah,
attached
look,
to
I
the
can
same
see the
blueprint.
benefit doing it that
Yeah.
way. On your, let's say this year 4 student here,
Yeah.
if you clicked on their dashboard, do they just have one year 4 class, or do they
So,
have for different
yeah.
subjects?
So obviously they'll have the what we call Kerry Connect, which
Yep.
is the outdoor ed page, and then they've got their connected learning page, which is all the other things. But a standard course structure they have a year 4 course, which includes the English, Maths, and Integrated Studies, and then they have their art, music, Chinese, PE.
So all the specialists have their
library.
own courses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Blueprints again.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Because again, the reason I ask is because we have English, Maths, Integrated Studies, all as separate courses.
We started like that.
Yeah. Well, we're at the moment where we're trying to think about 2021, and for a parent, I'm thinking of it a parent perspective, to click in each subject. If you have 3 kids, you know, that's 9
Too
different
many.
courses you've got to go to just to view results. So thinking about easier ways we can just see.
And that's actually the main reason why we changed, was because we call it in the junior school timely feedback, in the middle school continuous reporting, same thing. But that was the thing. We were sending kids or parents here to get your math results and here to get and we actually even had a separate course for the feedback. So, and the argument was, but the learning's taking place here and the feedback's taking place here, and then you're sending the parents here. Let's try and condense it a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, off like when we were off site, we had a course and teachers were using it to do that kind of stuff, and it just hit me like, why not put everything together in the one spot? You know, have a year 6 course and have all your different modules or whatever it is inside that. So I think all right, good to hear other people are doing that.
I had a quick question. You mentioned the badges earlier. Were they digital badges or physical badges?
No, with Badger.
Badger, yes.
So let me go. This is So look, we are very early on in our journey with badges, but the kids love it. They just think it's the coolest thing ever to be assigned, you know, their little cookout badge. And for the older years, we had them self-assigned. So once they uploaded a piece of work, then they got the badge straight away. With the littler kids, you know, there's less of them, so we've been giving them comments along the way. So we've really done this with our outdoor ed. Plus, we have what we call the 9 Kerry attributes, and so we've really started again assigning those micro credentials for kids. You know, digital learning, and then the badge is called collaboration. So our 9 attributes are going to be used as badges across the school, which we have a scope and sequence. You know, learning pathway for those attributes that says when you're in year 2, you should show how to collaborate in these ways. Kids love them.
Can I just ask a question, please? So we haven't really used Canvas very much, and I'm still trying to get my head around how we use it. So I saw on your year 4 page that you had like notices and blog and what have you up the top. And then you've got like year 4 learning, English, Maths, Integrated Studies. So when you're using this in your lessons, how would you use Canvas like to teach a lesson? Are you using it like a presentation tool and then they're doing recording or doing their work elsewhere, or how are you actually using it, I guess, is the question I have.
Yeah, so the first button there that you said with the announcements, that's probably really for parents. It has all the information for parents about the timetables, etc. And like you said, the learning, when we look at this will be very much a COVID experience. So while we were online, we did have to deliver everything in this space. As we move now to being face-to-face, we now realize that, you know, we've got so many kids at different levels in our classrooms, so we can provide for them opportunities to be a part of their learning. But you might have a group of kids that are watching a video on a maths concept versus having the teacher explain that concept, having, you know, the teacher work with those students who are progressing at a faster rate, or the learning development team working with other students. So this will really depend from year level to year level, exactly what it is. But it is a space to provide the digital resources. So if you are sending kids to a website, or you're showing them a video, or you want them to have a discussion, it all goes into this same space. I would say, starting out, you don't want to be putting like your whole lesson here.
No.
It doesn't replace, you know, again, trying to flip from a COVID experience to what happens inside the classroom. It's not open your computer and get started on the lesson. It's, okay, we've now watched this video and I want you to write down a few discussion points. Let's try a discussion board to do that, so that we've got a record of that as a class.
Does anybody else use this and something else like OneNote or something like that to record their information? Russell or David? Or
I mean, we have Google integration as well. So often, you know, link swapping between this and say Google Docs, Google Drive.
Okay.
We use a fair bit of that, but it's a little bit of horses for courses. You know, as Kylie said before, sometimes you might want to do a discussion. Sometimes, look, you can embed things like Quizlets and things like that. You can embed, you know, voting tools, graphs, puzzles. I found one of the best features for Canvas for work is in looking for things that you can embed onto a page, rather than a specific app. So I've mentioned before in one of these groups, it's about getting Canvas to work for what you want to do, not just doing what Canvas can do, if that makes sense. So you go, all right, if I really want to emphasize, I don't know, digital citizenship, I might do it through the discussion board. However, you know, I actually just want to have a bit of a competition. I'll embed a quiz, you know, so it's you kind of think of what you want first before, rather than what Canvas can give you, if that makes sense. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And trying not to think of it as a digital filing system.
Yeah,
So
look,
it's
you
not
fall
just-
into the trap of it becoming a portfolio, but really it's more of a collation of learning resources that you can refer back to. And I mean, the benefit of this is that, you know, a kid's not at school, they can go and look at this at home and what was I up to, catch up. Like, we have teachers who have wanted to record their whole class novel chapter by chapter and upload it as different things, and if a kid misses out, they can go back and listen to that chapter again, or you didn't really get that. You know, it's, you make it work for you, you know what I mean? So it's not everything. It's the other thing we have with teachers is they were really worried at the start they have to run every single lesson through here, and that's not the case. You use it as you need it, and particularly it tends to be your upper primary, I suppose, where they can have it. Really, it's not uncommon to see Canvas here on your iPad next to you while you're working traditionally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not a replacement for what you did. It's kind of enhancing what you did.
Okay, that's really helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I really like, you know, the way you've got it structured, Kylie, and it kind of emphasizes that point in that it's almost reflecting what you do in the classroom as far as the structure is concerned. But yeah, we probably sound like a bit of a broken record when we say this, but the end goal isn't Canvas. Canvas is a tool that helps you achieve your goals, which is what Russell is talking about. So think about what you're trying to achieve, and then you'll quickly realize, yeah, there's things that we can embed onto some pages that will help with that. So we can start a discussion or create an assignment. I noticed, you know, Kylie, they have Studio. You could have them submit a video in Studio and have a two-way conversation in SpeedGrader with some feedback things. Say, oh, I noticed you did this. Why did you do that? And they can reply and right on the timeline of the video. Yeah, that's a really good way of thinking of it.
Yeah, and I guess, so this is my year 9 class. This is just from the again, year 9, so not you know, K-6, but I wouldn't say this is 4 lessons. You know, this is just information that the kids need, and this would go with me standing at the front and talking at a whiteboard versus group work versus it's not it's not a lesson plan as such. And this is a great way for kids. We now have quite a few kids that aren't joining us on site, including a couple that are still in China. So we have to find ways to allow them to be a part of our class without them being inside the classroom. I just wanted to show you even the difference between the junior school versus the middle school, senior school. Similar, but a different learning experiences as they move up the school. Because you don't want your Canvas pages to be all the same from prep to 12. That would get slightly boring.
Do you what do you use to create those? It looks like Canva, maybe.
Yeah, definitely Canva.
Yeah. Any other cool resources that everyone uses to create stuff on pages? So Canva's one that's like really, really popular, and for good reason. What about icons and things like that? That is one that I use called Icons 8. Is there anything else that they have a go-to thing for creating stuff?
I tend to use Canva, to be honest, too. It just has everything. One other, I suppose, resource that we've found really handy, rather than constantly making pages, is Google Slides and embedding a Google slide into a page. And you might have to Google how to do that. It's HTML stuff. And then once it's on that page, anytime you update it in Google, it updates onto your Canvas page. So our junior primary teachers use that quite often for their blog or parent resources. So rather than lots of different pages, you maybe get like a bit of a week shelf life of, this is what we've been up to. And then next week, you just chuck a few new images in those slides and it updates on your Canvas page. And so the parents have really liked that. So Google Slides has been a bit of a, maths, for instance, you could plan your whole maths unit on slides and then just upload that into Canvas. And then every time you update that, it's just changes on the pages. It just saves, we're trying to avoid as many clicks as possible. So if there's one spot, then, it's all there. So Slides has been huge for us, particularly in that kind of blog newsletter field.
Yeah, you can do the same thing with PowerPoint as well. So it's just grabbing that embed code. There is a way to do it in the Rich Content Editor without having to go into the HTML view, to just chuck the embed code in. Sarah's put her hand up. She's put a question in the chat, Kylie. She says, can we see more from K to 2 or P to 2? I've got resistance from the team in K to 2. And we can't actually hear you, Sarah, unfortunately. But we can see the chat.
So while we're waiting,
do you have something from K to 2 that you can share?
Yeah, of course. Let me just go back to. So this is our prep library page, but you can see here, the pictures of the books, and the kids can click on here, and then they get access to our story box to be able to hear the author reading the story. Again, simple way for kids to be able to not only choose their book but hear someone else read it for them. So differentiation depending on where the kids are at with their stories. I mean, the prep page looks again identical quite to the other year levels. I think the only other thing to talk about is the ability for kids to upload work. And we would have said again at the start of the year that our lower primary teachers would have said, that their prep and year 1 kids couldn't possibly upload work. Again, thanks to the pandemic, all our kids are very able through their iPad to upload their learning, and the teachers, of course, were able to assess it online. And that's what we call timely feedback. So we have certain tasks across the school, summative tasks that every student, in prep needs to submit, and then they're marked along a continuum. Never a letter grade in the primary year levels, but that continuum which shows whether they're at standard, above standard, etc. As you move into the middle school, senior school, again, summative tasks, but they are marked with a letter grade and a rubric as well. And those are the things that are extracted and reported on formally as part of our report writing process. So the students will get their rubric, they'll get a comment, and we've really started again using the facilities of Canvas to for the teachers to provide verbal feedback to the students. So it doesn't need to be a typed essay back to the kids on their learning, but yeah, marking the kids' work and providing that. And our parents know to look for certain tasks, that there are lots of formative. Our Year 5 course at the end of COVID had 260 assignments in it. So there are lots of formative things that are happening, but what we call timely feedback are those, main ones, those progression points along the continuum. This is the Chinese page. Again, Chinese is a lot of watching and listening. So again, this provides that opportunity for the teacher to provide, and again, some of these are really much designated to when we were in an online world. Yeah.
I might jump in there too, as I think Sarah said, it's a hard level to sell it to. You're right. Look, what we mainly used it for is the parent communication side of things, and as I said, that celebration of learning, the blog, notices. The other thing that I guess came from it that was really useful for the parents was like a parent resource bank, and basically you had in there Mathletics would link to their Mathletics passwords, and you had this app, that app, all the recommended things that we were saying during offsite learning. Hey, go here. There was a bank of resources there for the parents, or if they wanted to go further with something, they could. Probably at this stage, there's a few lessons going, through Canvas in terms of your you presenting from Canvas. There wasn't heaps, I'll be honest, but mainly it's that parent communication at that level, and short, sharp snapshots of little bits of assignments. I think we get thrown off by the word assignment. It's really just a snapshot of what they are at that time with, a picture or a video right then and there. You know what I mean? So it is more teacher driven at that level, where I guess when you get to your more senior primary kids, it's, they're uploading, they're creating, they're doing all that kind of stuff, where really from, I'd say prep 1, it's basically going to the parents.
I think even just starting with a class blog is helpful at those year levels, once a week. And I know that a lot of the kids in the junior school, they distribute between who writes the blog. So the teacher might, for term 1, write the blog. And then after that, a kid might take on that responsibility for their writing task to provide feedback back to the parents about what's happening within the class. Just a great way to get parents to interact or be on that site. I guess having our formal reporting structure in there forces our parents to look there, and we use that as our main form of communication about the curriculum to parents. So they all have the app, they all want to be involved. That they go there to find the information.
Which app are they using, the parent app or the student app?
The student app.
Okay.
The parent app is not so fun.
I'll second that.
Yeah. And David, if you're thinking about introducing the parents into Canvas, I would definitely kind of just advise to book in a call with us, because we'll go through some strategies with you, because I think there's so many different ways you can introduce them. We've got a personal favorite of ours, but there's some things to think about there, so it's worth noting that.
Yeah, definitely.
Just in general terms, along those lines, we've found that turning on self sign up for parents is not very effective in our region anyway. So you actually provisioning the parent accounts into Canvas as a school is much more effective. And if it is tied into, as Kylie said, they do at Carey, if you've got formal assessment happening in Canvas, then that gives the parents insight, and there's a really good reason for them to be in there. So yeah, there's a few other things like setting up, making sure you have a listing, because they're most likely going to have different authentication into Canvas. They might have local Canvas authentication depending on the school. Some will have them already set up with single sign-on at the school with other systems, but it depends. So that's why, have a chat with us, and we'll talk about all those little moving parts.
Yeah. Any other questions, or anyone that wants to kind of share what they're doing at their school? Or perhaps even, Sam, maybe you can think about or tell us what you're thinking about just in terms of your years 5 and 6.
Well, we've been having meetings, but meetings with the senior school where they, I think the way that they want to use it, and the way that I envisage the primary kids using it is quite different. The way that the senior teachers are looking at using it is, they're going to, put work for the kids, and it's more self-directed, I guess, with the older kids. We can't do that with the younger kids. They need some more input from the teachers. So it's really, I'm finding it really difficult because they're telling us what they're doing, and they're not saying we have to do that, but we're going to the same meetings and they're saying, this is what we're doing, this is what's happening. So I've kind of created, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do, and listening to Kylie, it probably isn't, created courses for each subject. But but my plan is, what I'd like to do is just have like a year 5 page, a bit like what Kylie has, with links to the different subjects from there, because I think having them as all separate things, I think is going to be too difficult for them. I think they need one spot. I just don't know how to create that one spot yet. So that's my next thing to do.
So Sam, we're kind of in the same boat here, I guess. We from prep to 6 have a course for English, Maths, Integrated Studies, and then one for each of the specialists. So there's a lot of courses there.
Yeah.
And we're finding that, it's manageable, you can do it. But I just think of a parent who might have 3 kids, that might be 21 courses they have to go and look through marks for. So having to think about, if you put the parent and the student hat on, not the teacher hat on, you sometimes think what's easier. And I would agree with what Kylie was saying before, so having that one course. But we have Canvas K-12, and how we use it is so different to how our senior school use it, and there's not a problem with that because we don't teach the same. So a couple of things that we've changed is, when we give feedback and marks, basically in the whole junior school, we've taken off all scores. And what that means is the rubrics are informative, and your comments and your feedback's informative, and people aren't just looking at things like ABC or 9 out of 10 or whatever it is. So that is, when you go to our senior school, they have assignment weightings, they have all those kind of things, but we kind of made a bit of a philosophical choice with that to not do that and use Canvas for, again, how we want it, and we want it to inform our teaching and inform what the kids do next, and a 9 out of 10 wouldn't do that. So you don't teach the same, so why should you assess the same? It's different, they're different kids.
So Kylie, when you set up like that one, if you set up one course to then link off to the different subject areas, are you then linking to pages?
Yeah, or a module, I would say. I guess even just to take the back step, I find Canvas is very blank. When, it sounds funny, it's a blank canvas. when you start using Canvas, and I do say this particularly to our junior school teachers, I started exploring Canvas having just given birth to a baby, and I say it was probably my hormones all over the place, but I spent many days crying because I was like, I've got to deliver this to 1,000 odd kids, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And then it was just about, I think, I find buttons very helpful in organizing and your thoughts. And I sat with the junior school teachers, prep 2-6, and said, just draw me a front page. Get a piece of paper, and if you landed, it's the website. If you land on this page, what are the things you want the kids to see? And for some of them, one of those buttons will link to a picture of their kids, because they want their kids to see that is their page, it's their course, it's their classroom. And different teachers had different things, and then it was working through the 6 or 7 year levels to try and find the common ground, and even calling them different buttons. And Canvas has a name like assignments, let's keep with assignments. Then building those buttons that link to the modules was just a starting point. And we did start with them all having their own courses. But we again thought of the lifetime of a kid that starts at the ELC and ends in year 12. How many courses will they end up in Canvas? It's just phenomenal. So we tried to pare back how many sit on their dashboard.
Can I just speak, Sam? In where I am, we had a similar setup at the beginning, and then I went and talked to ICT with the junior school, especially because you had teachers confronting this dashboard that had just had myriad courses propagated all over it, because that's what the computer spat out. And that was just too much for them to handle. And so we just did exactly what Colin and Russell have been saying, just pushed it all into one course, and we've got that operating from kindergarten all the way to year 6. And then from that's their landing page, and they go from that to maths, integrated studies, and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I've created the courses and it's overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, if this recording helps, you can send them this recording after the fact. We'll upload it onto the community, and you can share it with them, and perhaps give them the feedback, or some of the feedback that we shared here today.
And the only other thing I'd mention is teachers are worried about being visible and it not being perfect. And we had a bit of a situation where we said, well, we're going to try basically for 6 months to have a go at courses, figure out stuff along the way, do a little bit of PD before we invited parents into it, or even have a sandbox course where you just try stuff. That was the best thing that happened to us. We kind of fluked it, but yeah, we had all these courses that were looking fantastic and all these skills that came with passionate people, but no pressure of assignments, marking, parents looking, and things like that. So having somewhere, I guess, to play and muck around with these things, you quickly find what works and what doesn't. And if you put yourself under these pressure of being public, that's when people just go into their box. So giving the staff, I guess, a chance to play around with it was a real winner for us.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think we always kind of advise, make sure you're ready to introduce parents before you introduce them. If you're introducing them at the start of the journey and there's no consistency between the courses and things like that, parents can start sending you messages and asking questions and getting up and causing trouble. So I think that's a good point. Just trial it and testing it, and then make sure you're happy with it before introducing your parents.
I think there's a good argument that junior school should not be the same as secondary school. I mean, in my case, it's really easy because we also use iPads in our junior school versus a laptop in year 7. Those buttons that sit on those pages need to be very easy to use with a finger to click on them, versus someone who's able to type. I think in my mind, you would not build a prep to 12 site as such.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It's interesting. some of the feedback that there are surveys that go out to students and usage of Canvas, and for institutions that don't have that aren't using, I guess you'd call them templates, like Kylie's using with the blueprints. Quite often the feedback that we get from students is, I wish my teachers used Canvas in a similar way, because they're going to learn, different courses, different classes, how to, they're going to different places all the time. And so that consistency from a student perspective is really, really helpful, and from parent perspective. But really, the student, I say this a lot, but I think it's a really good thing to keep in mind is, how does this impact the students? Does it improve learning outcomes for students? If that's your number one thing, then you'll always arrive at the right place. Now, that doesn't mean the solution is going to be exactly the same for everyone at every different school. And that's okay, because you've got different communities, you've got different curriculum at different schools, different states, different countries, things like that. But if you keep the student experience front of mind when you're making those decisions and creating those templates and the structures for your courses, then the outcome is going to be good. Yeah.
So I think we're almost at time, just in terms of when this was scheduled for. So I think, are you good to share now, Paul, or is your computer working all right?
We'll see. Do I actually sound okay now?
Yeah,
Okay.
you do.
All right. Let me try sharing my screen and see how we go.
So yeah, we just wanted to talk about what we want to discuss in the new year, the next session. Does anyone have any ideas on what they'd like to cover?
I would love to see mastery pathways. I can't get my head around that very well. So if anyone is using it and could showcase something, I'd love that.
Is anyone? Yeah.
Can I add? I've trialed it and it didn't work for me, but so I put it on the back burner for a while.
Yep.
But stuff with Badger as well. All that micro credentialing. We trialed it for a little bit. Maybe it was a me problem and not a Badger problem, but something on micro credentialing would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let me go into edit mode. So,
something that I would like to hear is perhaps your minimum baselines for developing courses. Kylie, you touched on it, but yeah, it'd be good to kind of hear what those are across different schools and compare. And I'm not the user, so.
We started actually doing that this year with a baseline from K to 12, but this year with COVID, it really sort of fell a little bit by the wayside. But I'd be interested to hear a bit more of that. But yeah, I was going to say something, I forgot what it was.
It's tricky as well. Like Kylie was saying earlier, you want to have that standardization, but allow teachers to add in their own flair or their own content as well. So that baseline gives that consistency that I was talking about earlier, but you don't want to take away teacher creativity either.
And you also need a bit of support from upper line managers, I guess, too, to sort of present the whole case for the school type thing. So that's where I'm interested to know what kinds of support people do get from people further up the line, whether they're very on board. I know Kylie, your principal, seems very on board as far as those messages he puts on there, which is fantastic. So that's a really great idea, actually, to have that going out to parents, and they have to access it through Canvas. I think that we've got a lot of pathways at our school. I think trying to draw it into one might be a little bit better that way. The other thing I was going to ask was rubrics too. I'm interested to see how people are utilising rubrics within their learning too.
Cool. That's
I
a
think
lot of
that's a good,
content.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good start. Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming along. As Rio said, once the recording's been processed, we'll upload it into the community, and yeah, we look forward to finishing off 2020 and starting 2021.
Sorry, can I just ask, where's the community?
Uh,
Where can I find it?
Yeah, let me just find the link for you and
Okay, thank you.
put it in the chat.
Perfect.
there we go. It's just
Thank
in the
you.
chat there.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll send out an email as well as a follow-up. So if you don't get our newsletters, just reply to the email. Well, you must do to be able to have found out about this. But if you're not on the list, just speak to the person that obviously forwarded the email to you, and we can get you onto the list for our newsletters, which has links to all the community stuff as well. But yeah, thanks again, everyone.
And a special thanks for Kylie for presenting.
Yeah, thank you so
sharing.
much. Yeah.
Sorry.
Fantastic, Kylie. No, that was really great. And Russell, and everyone who piped in, and yeah, Dave with his few nuggets there, and everyone else. But the questions are really good as well. So thanks everyone for the questions, because it gets everyone thinking about, well, am I actually doing it the best way that we should be doing at our school? But thanks everyone, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks
Thanks,
for sharing.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.